In the wake of the Miraculous London special, it really does feel like the world of Miraculous has opened up for so many potential story threads, ideas, and theories. Honestly, I think for much of Season 5, I really did struggle to think about where the story was going to go next. For so long, we had so many theories and so much build-up, and whilst many of those theories did end up being confirmed over the course of Season 5, at the end of the day, it was still a finale to a lot of the narrative, with many of the different story threads being wrapped up. Whilst we were left with some cliffhangers with some setup for the future, at the same time, it felt like it was hard to predict what was going to happen. We needed some more content so we could try to piece together where things were going to go. So much had been left in limbo. So when the London special released and we got some fresh story and some evidence of what direction that story is going to be going in the future, it was well and truly a breath of fresh air. This new story has been lighting up my brain with all the possibilities of what could happen in Season 6 and beyond, and has me really optimistic for the future of the franchise. Which brings me to my latest theory, that at some point going forward, could be in Season 6, could be in Season 7, but at some point, we're going to see some sort of miraculous civil war / miraculous hero team schism storyline play out. After all, this is a superhero show that at times shamelessly rips off pays homage to many classic superhero storylines from across DC and Marvel. So why not somewhat recreate one of the most iconic comic book storylines of the last 20 or so years in the world of Miraculous? On one side, you'd obviously have Ladybug / Marinette, and on the other side, well, let's wait and see what we can come up with. So before we dive too deeply into that, I suppose we'd better lay the groundwork for the storyline itself. One of the biggest narrative threads coming out of Miraculous World London has to have been Marinette deciding that Adrian can never learn who and what his father was. That it would be too painful for him, and that he's better off thinking that his dad was a hero who died trying to stop Monarch. That the only reason he ever worked with him to begin with was to protect Adrian, because he'd been threatened. Not only would this make Adrian feel better, but at the same time this would divert blame and prevent Natalie being arrested and almost certainly being sent to prison, which would rob Adrian of yet another beloved parental figure and just make him even more miserable. At the same time though, we know that there's a trade-off to this. One, it's a massive betrayal that very much infantilizes Adrian. Normally in the show, I would have expected for them to go all in on this actually being the right way of thinking. That Adrian should be infantilized because he's not emotionally mature enough to handle the truth. It's very much in line with the way they've written him for much of the show's run. Having him be the weaker one, the one that can never know anything because he just can't handle it. Look at his akumatization record versus Marinette's, and that's all you need to know. That's the status quo as of the London special, or rather, the start of the London special. After all, it was still firmly in place as of the finale of Season 5, where he was relegated to crying in prison whilst Marinette was whooping ass. But then came the shift of the London special, where you had multiple characters who were questioning Marinette's judgment in this matter. You have Kagami, who already knew it all. She's telling her that she's being blinded by love, and she thinks that Adrian needs to be told the truth at the very least. But even more than that, I feel like despite her love for her mother, she also recognizes that the full truth should have been told to the world about Gabe and Tomoe, and that it's going to come back to bite them in the ass if it isn't. After all, I think Kagami of all people would be inwardly scoffing at the idea that a stern talking to from her is going to change anything at all. It's not going to reform her mother, and it's surely not going to make her change course in any way whatsoever. So that's dissenter number one, but on top of that, we also have Natalie, who would be firmly on the chopping block if any of this got out. And she's also saying that Marinette should not be telling lies. So we have both sides of the spectrum, heroes and reformed villains. They're telling her you're wrong. And it feels like the narrative, unlike its usual writing, is not trying to disagree with that sentiment. That's rare. And like I said in a recent video, I think it heralds a bit of a shift in the way the story's being written and looked at. Thus, we have a lot of new directions the story can be taken. On top of that, you have two major villains still on the loose who have a whole heap of knowledge that could be used to great effect. We know Tomoe has, yes, gotten off scot-free thanks to Marinette's compassion, and I think there is a 0% chance that she's simply gonna give it up. She's still gonna have villainous moments, and she now has significant blackmail material with the truth about Gabe. And it's the same for Lila. While she currently remains mysterious and in the shadows, we do know that she has a whole lot of knowledge. She may not have succeeded in learning Ladybug's true identity yet, but she did manage to learn shit tons previously. Most importantly, she knows for a fact that Gabriel Agreste is Monarch, or was Monarch. So this means that both of these main antagonists know for a fact that Ladybug has lied about the truth about what happened. Not only did she lie to Adrian, but she gave a proper press conference where she's lied to the world as well. So suddenly, the two main villains, who both have a cunning and ruthless streak, with Lila thriving on blackmail and cruelty in particular, now both of these main villains have that trump card. Blackmail material they can try to use against Marinette, or a Hail Mary that they can try to use to destroy Ladybug's reputation. Not just in the wider world, but also specifically amongst the heroes that she's permanently given Miraculouses to. Hence where my idea of a miraculous civil war, or more realistically, a schism within the team, is going to come from. Where the truth inevitably comes out, and the team begins to fracture, to come apart at the seams. I'm pretty confident that at the very least, something along those lines is going to happen. It feels kind of strange to just include all of these hints, and then not include some sort of narrative consequence, doesn't it? Yes, the answer is yes, it does. Anyway, the actual plot though. Well, the way Lila's been framed, I think it probably makes the most sense for her to be the one revealing the information as Hawkmoth. It feels like that it's somewhat in her MO to try to shatter public faith in Ladybug, the same way that she'd do to Marinette by manipulating their class again and again. She's done it in the past, so she'll do it in the future. So it would probably be her, especially since she's clearly going to be the main antagonist going forward into Season 6 and beyond, and she already has a proven track record of straight up just getting shit done. She said good game to Ladybug in under an episode, so doing it again by destroying her alliances in one blow would be something that she's capable of. Either that or it's going to be Tomoe, who also will be likely up to some extreme mischief in Season 6, and could also reveal the truth, most likely as a final middle finger to the hero team after she gets taken down just to be spiteful and cause some chaos. I could be wrong, but I kind of get that vibe from her. If I go down, I'm taking you with me sort of thing. This in turn would be a pretty massive narrative development overall, and would kickstart the schism/civil war that I talked about previously, and that forms the crux of this video. As for actually fighting, having a proper punch-up, I'm not quite sure that would be in the cards. I don't think they'd want to go that far to have a proper Cat Noir versus Ladybug, because I don't see how you could heal that riff, and the optics of a boyfriend intentionally fighting his girlfriend even unknowingly, it's truly bad. Nah, that's not going to happen in 2024, trust me. Or 2025, or whatever year this comes out, 26, 27? Considering how the show releases, it's probably going to be sometime in there. So it won't be Cat Noir versus Ladybug. So strap yourselves in, kids, because in that case, the big dog, the big cat, is going to get akumatized if this theory comes to pass in a civil war type deal. They can't fully pull the trigger, but they can certainly return to the old reliable. And that's to have Cat Noir find out the truth in some dastardly way, have a breakdown as is tradition, and get akumatized by Lila. This is how you can have your showdown without it looking like the dude just wants to throw hands unknowingly with his girlfriend. So I think that would be step one. You'd have the first episode where she has to put out the fire of either facing down with Adrien or Cat Noir, whichever form we're dealing with. And I think at the same time, this would be a good time to have Adrien pull a Safari and not be working with Hawkmoth, but simply using the power. In that way, you can show that Adrien isn't in his right mind, and hence that's why he's attacking Ladybug, because usually he wouldn't be violent with his friend. But at the same time, you can also validate that idea that he is a true hero, and he's not going to just hand over his ring to Hawkmoth. Then, when he turns back, the expectation would be that he'd be all sorry and looking to make peace. But I think the more interesting story idea is that he decides, nah, screw that, and screw you. From Adrien's point of view, he'd be thinking, I think it's absolute bullshit that you lied to me and robbed me of the truth. Thus, you can have this wacky dynamic where, for a handful of episodes, Adrien should be one of Ladybug's biggest haters, and Marinette can be right next to him with the righteous side-eye, sipping her tea and trying to avoid the topic completely. I think it would be really funny to see from the Adrien point of view to have scenes like that where he's just hating. But I think it also gives Marinette some opportunities for character growth, because it can give her the fear of, if I ever tell him who I am, he'll dump me and it'll be over forever. Give us some of that dramatic angst, some spice in the storyline, some trouble in paradise. Obviously, don't actually break them up, because that'd be some terrible writing. Because since it took 5 seasons and years to get to this point, I think I can speak for the whole fandom when I say don't. Just don't. But this schism should also be continued with their hero personas, where Cat Noir's angry, not just for his alter ego, but also because the fact is that he, as her partner, was lied to at the same time. I think if Ladybug had told Cat Noir the truth right away, whilst it would have been trippy with his mind, and he may have even been akumatized as a result, I think overall, he'd understand Ladybug's reasoning and not be overly angry. But in this scenario, he has the double betrayal of both his alter egos. I think that's been such a big part of his character recently, especially in Season 4, feeling overlooked and undervalued as a part of the team. So wouldn't this be full confirmation for him that everything he's always feared? That he's nothing more than a sidekick for her? not worthy of trust or the truth. But back to the Civil War concept, a big part of that story in the Marvel universe is the choosing of sides. And I feel like it would be interesting if we simulated that here. Well, they wouldn't really be teams that fight each other, but it would almost be squads of heroes that align with different groups because they trust or don't trust Ladybug anymore after the lie's revealed. Split the couples up too. That's how you get the true angst. Alia with Marinette, Nino the Truther with Cat Noir. Felix, who seems to infantilize Adrian a bit as well and doesn't seem keen on sharing anything with him, can go with Marinette. But then Kagami is good friends with Adrian. She wanted to tell him the truth, and so she can go with Cat Noir. That sort of thing. Doesn't make it super opposed, but it gives storylines that flesh out their characters and dynamics in how they respond to the revelation. It ties these other characters into the story and lets them develop too alongside it. Also, having the public turn against Ladybug seems like a given as well, but I think that probably fits more into a different video for another day. So ultimately, I'm kind of running on fumes here. I'm out of ideas. So I want to throw it to you guys. Do you like this idea at all? If you do, how would you have it play out? Would you scrap what I've said and just build it up again, or do you want to build off it? I'm really curious for your thoughts here, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know.